Welcome, everybody. We had a great weekend in Dallas, Texas. It is the 61st episode of VV Gaming's The Losers Bracket podcast. MLG Dallas was quite the success in some areas, and, well, we'll get to some of the downfalls as well. But let's start out with probably the biggest success of MLG Dallas 2011, the season opener, Starcraft II. Holy moly, that was absolutely amazing. Seats everywhere. They were all filled, too. VVV Roar, welcome back to the show. What were your thoughts of the event, my man?
The event was amazing. Huge turnout. Loved it. I know not all of you were there for the StarCraft II finals, but I mean, the whole entire SC2 section, seats were filled. I don't even know how much to count. I'm probably saying like over 1,000 people viewed it. We had like 2/3 of our Halo filled up and 1/3 of Black Ops. All 5 screens were running at the end. Naniwal took it home. Just to give everyone a quick rundown of the 1 through 16 places going into Columbus, we had Naniwal, a Protoss, taken first, Kiwikaki, a Protoss, taken second, Select, a Terran taken third, and Control, a Protoss, taken fourth, TLO, another Terran, Sake, a Protoss, Hydra, the first Zerg, he takes 7th, Moon in a Terran takes 8th, Slush, 9th, a Zerg, Huck takes 10th, who is a Protoss, Druby, another Terran, 11th, Sojay, a Terran, who takes 12th, Rhett, our Zerg, who takes 13th, Heypro, another Zerg, who takes 14th, Machine takes 15th and is also a Zerg, and finally Tyler, a Protoss, takes 16th. So as you can see, odd distribution, only 4 Zergs, rest Protoss and Terran, and the only Zerg to finish top 7 was Idra. Crazy weekend. VEV players did not fare off too well, but I mean, it wasn't completely terrible.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think saying it was fantastic might actually be a bit of an understatement. For those of you who did not see the pictures, have not looked at the actual venue, MLG did everything it promised. It gave us 3 main stages. Halo was the only stage with 4 separate screens to watch each player, but Call of Duty had its own big screen, and so did StarCraft II. There were also feature stations, which everyone who's been to an MLG event will be familiar with, and those were basically 1 per title also. I thought Alienware gave an enormous amount of hardware for StarCraft, which was fantastic, and the seating. Not only was there plenty of seating, but the first few rows were reserved. It allowed people, like myself or people from EG that were on staff, part of the media team, covering their teams, to sort of sit down, get a good bird's eye view, cover our players, and do the things that we do, and also give us a place to talk. I was able to sit down, talk with Sir Scoots from EG, and that's just a good environment and a positive place to hold a conversation in the backdrop, in this particular case, for watching In Control versus Select. And it's just a great place to be. So as far as the actual event itself, I think, MLG really has upped their game. But let's focus on StarCraft since Rory is here, and let's talk a little bit about the VV news. Our top placement was Murder. I noticed a lot of our players, I think, came there a little surprised at the level of competition, and also realizing that the preparation they were going to need to compete at this level was going to be significantly more. You've been talking to them while they were at the event and on. What is your feeling?
Well, to start, this event was huge. You had 16 players who got seeded from last year. Then you had 256 players in the open round. And obviously, there's more than 16 great players in the world. So this open round was just filled of amazing players. Like, oh my God, I think anything could have gone either way. Basically every single round, someone was playing someone amazing. For instance, Murder went on a streak against Protoss. He beat... I don't remember his exact name, but I know after that he went on to beat Whiplash, and then he went on to beat Complexity Cruncher in an event facing Efiko Sheth, who ended up knocking him out of the tournament. So, he basically played back-to-back great people. Time did the same. He ended up playing Master Asia, lost to him, but before that he played 2 amazing players. VV basically was thrown up against a hard place. I think the easiest person who had the best run was D-Way. He's actually a diamond player, and he finished off the same placing as Time, which is 49th, and he just did amazing. Really, he faced Nama, great Terran player from Europe who finished amazing also. He was knocking on tons of people. He finished top 20, but I mean, really, when you look at all the road he had other than that, he did really great. He was able to knock out a whole bunch of people. I'm just all around it really impressed with my guys. The biggest disappointment was Titan and Rigid. In Titan's game, he actually, in the losers round, he was facing Inca SC to go on to the next round. And the first game, he won very handily, pretty much spanked Inca. Second game, he was way ahead, decided to try a new strat that he hasn't practiced. I mean, he probably played it like 3 times, failed at it. It kind of put him on tilt game 3, and he just dropped the game. And then Rigid played really great. He actually got knocked out first round, then he fought his way back up and ended up playing the same exact guy, Pretex, I believe, and it was a Protoss player, but he went to an extended series. He was worn out. He didn't ask for a break, and he ended up getting basically 4-0'd by the guy. So, I mean, other than that, event went really smoothly. I was really happy to meet all the guys. It was so great hanging out with them afterwards, talking, getting hype up, making sure everyone's on board for Columbus, and it looks like everyone is.
Yeah, I mean, I think StarCraft was the darling of this show. I mean, like you had mentioned, I wasn't there for the finals, but obviously people told me that the entire StarCraft section was filled. Halo was over, half was filled, and you even had people in the Call of Duty section. All of these seats are filled. All screens and all main stages are showing the StarCraft finals, and people are engaged. So if you are thinking about whether or not to go to Columbus, or more importantly, are you thinking about whether or not you should start playing StarCraft II? StarCraft I, you could argue that before StarCraft II, it was around for 10 years. This is the first year of StarCraft II. So if you're wondering, should I pick up the game? Should I get involved in StarCraft II? You should. You should not for the reason that you're going to be a great player. You should because of what it is to be a spectator of StarCraft. The experience of spectating this game and seeing the level of skill that we were able to see in Dallas, that I'm sure we'll see again in Columbus. Another reason worth going to is I do believe there are people in that audience who were there that were fans simply of the people who were commentating all of StarCraft, which was Day 9 and obviously Marcus DJ Wheat. And I thought for the first time we had seen probably the best esports competitive gaming commentary probably in quite some time. They were polished, they were funny. They not only spoke about what I would call community opinion, but they also did each of their own individual analysis, both about their game and what they thought. And their experience and their professionalism really shined through. So that in itself is the reason that if you hear my voice, you should be in Columbus come June 3rd. Because if you do not watch StarCraft, if you're not paying attention to StarCraft, you are missing probably the biggest thing to ever happen to North American esports with nothing close.
Jerry, I got to completely agree with you there. Day 9 and DJ Wheat are a great team. I think the only thing that people were complaining about was actually hearing them commentate throughout the whole entire game, but that's strictly to having the soundproof booths, which hopefully are going to come through soon. Just to mention a few, I saw Halo Reach players, Status Quo, sitting right in front of us during the finals, and they were actually getting really involved in the game, having a good time with it. I saw some Black Ops players around us. I mean, everyone was really in tune with the game. It wasn't just a StarCraft II scene. Everyone seemed to really enjoying it. I mean, all of them were laughing at the pre-commentary, I guess you can call, as they cut them off before the game started to make sure the players didn't hear any starting position or anything like that. But everyone was just having a great time with it. They were making jokes. Everyone was laughing, talking about it. Great stuff all around.
What you mentioned about the soundproof booths, it's something that I want to credit Sir Scoots from EG. He had a really good idea. He said, hey, why don't we take maybe like a Dr. Pepper can or something like it, because they had those sort of Dr. Pepper can refrigerators that they had to store all the Dr. Pepper in. We'll take something like that, maybe a little bit smaller, and use that to have players come in because, according to Sir Scoots, they tried the Bose noise-canceling headsets with sort of inner ear pieces, and that didn't seem to work. So it seems to me like the only way to go, if we both want to have main stage, and this is for the main stage only, to both have main stage and then allow DJ Wheat and Day 9 to actually commentate throughout the entire match, they're going to have to get booths. And Sir Scoots also had another good idea where, if Dr. Pepper isn't the answer, maybe you get a combination of sponsors to slap their logos all over these booths. So, as we're looking at the players, we're always seeing those sponsor logos. And what you also mentioned about as the match would start, they would kind of get cut off. I think there'd be a much more natural transition. Overall, I think if that's a possibility and they can get the sponsors to provide that, or I mean, even if Major League Gaming has to first flip the bill and then later make it another advertising space that maybe they can sell. Again, I don't claim to be an expert on all the ways that they can, get sponsor support for an event, but it does seem like that would definitely make the event better. And to be honest, I think it's hard to make that very much better.
Truthfully, that sounds like a wonderful idea because of all the things that we're missing at MLG Dallas in regards to StarCraft, the commentary was sorely missed, I have to say. For some people that were out in the crowd that weren't necessarily sure what was going on in the game, that commentary would have really helped because Dana and DJ Wee both have a way that can really break down titles to the essentials so that people that don't understand the game can understand it while they're watching it, even if they haven't ever had the chance to sit down and check out StarCraft before. So really good. I hope they do look into soundproof booths for the future. It would really help out. And, over in Korea, GSL, things like that, they do have sponsors plastered all over their soundproof booths. So it would work. But I digress. Roar, I heard that you actually do have a charity event that you wanted to talk about really quick while you were here on the show this week.
Yes, I do. And thanks for mentioning it, Paradise. Basically, I'm working with a group called School on Wheels here in Indianapolis, and we're working to raise $750 upcoming here. And the group works with homeless children, trying to help them receive money for education. And basically, during the week of April 18th through April 22nd, we ask that you dine in rather than dine out and donate what you have spent eating out to School on Wheels. The donate section is at Indy, that's INDY, schoolonwheels.org. Or you can call 317-202-9100. And once again, I would like VV for having me on, as per usual. Hoping everyone does well. Hoping to see everyone in Columbus. I had a great time at Dallas. Hopefully that you guys come out to the after party next time. I'm sure Die Hard and everyone else can tell you that we had a great time just chilling up in the room, drinking a few brewskis, and hanging out.
Yeah, and I'm going to reiterate that website for everybody, Roar. It is www.indy, that is INDY, schoolonwheels.org. If you get to that website, you'll see right on top there's a Donate Now button, and I highly recommend that everybody who has a few extra dollars, instead of donating it to VV Gaming, go ahead and donate it to School on Wheels. It's a great cause, and again, that website, www.indyschoolonwheels.org. All right, Roar, tell everyone in the StarCraft division it was a pleasure meeting them. I look forward to meeting even more people in Columbus. I'm sure it's been an exhausting trip for you, and as always, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure always being here, and let's not even talk about exhausting. So many delays. Storms all over the Midwest. I'm happy you guys left when you did because I know I had at least 4 hours of delays ahead of me, and I got back around like 6. I know Murder got back around 9. So, yeah, delays is something else, but definitely StarCraft Division had a great time meeting. I think it was a great insight for a lot of the players, and I mean, a lot of them are going to change ways. A lot of them are going to do big things, so look forward to forming Columbus.
And speaking of big things, let's talk about Major League Gaming's up until this year premier title, which I don't know what you think, Jason, or what you think. We're also joined by Spikemouth. Justin is here, and we have Adam Icevane, and we also have their coach, and we'll bring them all on. But first I want to mention to you, Jason, what do you think? I thought that possibly Halo Reach may in many ways way better than Halo 3, in my humble opinion, watching it.
Oh, truth be told, you are absolutely correct. I've never been a fan of watching Halo at MLG, and I've been to quite a few MLG events at this point, but Reach actually really engaged me. I don't know, there's just something different about it. There's maybe it is the sprint that makes it more spectator-friendly, but I found it exciting, engaging to watch. It also was really good to see one of our own teams, VV Active Rush, that'd be Icevane and company, taking a spot in the top 16 with their 13th place finish. Congratulations, Icevane. And by the way, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me again. Always, I love coming on to the podcast and talking to you guys. And thank you for congratulations on the placing.
Yeah, it was definitely a pleasure cheering you guys on. Additionally, we've got your coach, Eric Athlon. Athlon, welcome back to the show. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing really great. Besides the wallet issue, I'm doing awesome.
Yeah, why don't you tell everyone what happened? You were one of those people who was a victim of sweatpants and a lean. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but basically, Saturday night after we beat, I believe it was Classic to be in the top 16. Our teammate Zeke, also known as Pete Tizype, made it to the finals of the Big Flex 4 FFA. So we went to main stage to cheer him on, and we were all sitting at the main stage in the chairs, and I was kind of leaning back in the chair, so I'm kind of thinking that's when my wallet fell out of my pants. So pretty much I lost my wallet sometime during that time between the Classic Series and going to go root our teammate on, and didn't think about it until we got back to the hotel, and I was like, oh crap, So hopefully, I know they have a lost and found usually at MLG events, so I was hoping the next day someone would found it and turn it in. So I went there bright and early the next day, and there was no sign of it whatsoever. The lady said she had nothing turned in, and I pretty much bugged her all weekend about it, and it was pretty bad. I had to file a police report and all that, so I can show proof that I'm not lying, that I don't have my ID on me or anything like that, so I can get back home. So it was
You've obviously canceled your bank card and everything else and know what you need to, right?
Oh, yeah, of course, definitely. There wasn't much on the credit cards as is. I wasn't worried about that. But, yeah, I definitely canceled all that stuff. The only thing that was bad that I was worried about was just definitely my ID, and my Social Security card was in there only because of a previous business trip, and I forgot to take it out. But I learned that I have a identity protection program, so I'm not really worried about that either.
We're gonna use our network here. If anybody did go to the MLG event and you guys hear the voice here, you can take that wallet and just drop it in a mailbox, and the post office will get it back to him because his ID's with it. So even if you thieved it and you can't charge anything on the credit card, if you didn't get rid of it, just throw it in the mailbox so he can get his Social Security card back and his driver's license. It would be appreciated. So enough of that. Let's talk about the good. Your team, as their coach, how do you feel they did? Tell us your opinion. And this is your first time coaching them, and that's usually a learning process for the team and the coach. Give us your perspective from the coach, and then we're going to turn it over to Adam.
Yeah, sure. Honestly, it's a brand new game. I thought they did really well, considering it's a new game and it's new for everybody. I definitely thought we could have done way better, for sure, because even though the only two teams we lost to through the entire weekend was Swagger Like Us and Warriors, both teams, they did not absolutely destroy us. The series was very close for both teams. So I think we proved that I don't think there's nobody that's on another level than us. It's just we have those little minor things that we need to work on to be able to beat teams like that. And I know we have the capability and the talent to do it. So, and coaching-wise, it was definitely a learning experience for me because as a coach, when you go to a new team, every team is different. You got to figure out, okay, what do they like? What don't they like? So I definitely learned a lot. It was a great learning experience, and we seemed to mesh really well toward the end. So everything just worked out for us. I think overall we are pretty happy about our placing. I know we could have done better, but we should be doing a lot better come Columbus. So really excited.
Awesome. Adam, you've been a long-time Halo player. I've watched you play Halo 3. You're now in Halo Reach in a new game. We've talked before. It took some time for you to find your fourth, and wow, I think your fourth added a lot. Not to mention, as Eric just said, he did win the free-for-all. Tell us about how you feel having, been patient, putting this together, and what were some of the highs and lows for your team at the event?
I definitely feel us being patient and not forcing a fourth into our gameplay and our team really paid off for us. We found a fourth that had the same mentality of being really good with constructive criticism, watching our film, how the gameplay went in-game, and on top of that, somebody that we got along with really well outside of the game. Of all my years of playing Halo, which is going on my 6th year, I've always had the team that basically had the 3 players, and sometimes the coach would be really into each other and got along with each other no matter what. Had a lot of similarities in their personalities, but it would always be that 4th that would be off doing their own thing, really not bonding with the team at all. And from day one, Pete Tizype was always in our party chats talking to us, joking around, and flowed more into the gameplay than with somebody that we got along with a lot more. As the weekend went on, definitely one of the best matches for us was playing Classic and knocking them back out to taking away their pro status and making them back into amateur players. I've never been too big of a fan of Soldier. He's always had something against me for some reason, so it was pretty nice to take away his pro status and make him into an amateur player. And more of the lows for us the entire weekend was probably the Warrior series, with just going up 2-0 on them, and games 3 and 4 were just right in our grasp. Game 3, not so much, but game 4, definitely. And just with that map being somewhat more weak for us recently and changing a strat on the beginning for us just ended up hurting us in the end. But, by time comes Columbus. Right now we're supposed to play that team that we lost to again in the pool play, and I definitely have my eyes on their back to take them out really quick with a 3-0.
Well, that Warrior series really was heart-wrenching to watch. I was there cheering you on, and it was really rough to see you go up 2-0 and lose the next 3 straight. But I have to say, a couple of games later when you were playing Darkest Hour, it must have been sweet poetic justice to basically turn tides around and do the exact same thing to them. Can you talk a little bit about that victory?
Yeah. That was our second consolation match. So we were playing for 13th at that point, and going into the consolations, we're out. Nothing we could do about that. But the thing that we could do at that point was get 13th, set ourselves up better for the next event. Maybe help us out with maybe one easier team in our pool play matches, if anything. So going in Darkest Hour, we knew we've never beaten that team online, and them going up 2-0 on us, and then taking that 3rd game gave us that momentum going into the 4th game, and then on to the 5th game when we played Nexus. Everything was just flowing out really well. Nexus was one of our stronger game types of the weekend. I was getting into Goofy's head a little bit. Native was not doing too well against us as well. So it was just felt so great to me to finally beat Darkest Hour for one, and then also to beat them when they were up 2-0 in the series.
Yeah, let me throw something in there. Eric, I know as a coach you are very reserved. When you coach, you generally take your clipboard and you make sure the other team can't hear what you're saying. Kind of the similar thing that you might see in the NFL as a coach. During that Darkest Hour match, though, you seemed a little bit more animated as things started to click and the team started to come back. I know sometimes consolation is less exciting for players, but you guys seem to be fairly into it. Talk to me about that turning point as match 3 went on and you guys were down 2-0.
I think the main reason was the reason why we got so animated as a team, and me in general, is because, like Adam said, we've never beaten them online. And at the LAN, when they did their LAN at the LAN network, they did fairly well. So, we just wanted to prove that we had an opportunity to finally face them, and we wanted to prove that we're better because we've watched them. I've watched several of their films. And I know that team seemed really well, but they're in our consolation match, and I know our teamwork was just ridiculous as a whole for the most part for that weekend, and I knew we could beat them. And just beating a team that was expected to place really, really high at a tournament felt really great. Some veteran players on that team, like Legit and Nate, have been around on the circuit for years. So regardless if it was consolation or not, we just want to – I think, honestly, we just want to prove that we are just a better team, and we did.
No, I hear you. I mean, I thought it was looking – like you guys were going to get 14th, and I even noticed that, the team was starting to get tense, and then you guys just clicked, and to be honest, I think Jason's right. That final match, you absolutely destroyed them. It was Team Slayer, and to be honest, it really wasn't even close. I mean, at that point, it almost seemed like either they had given up or it was just game over. So let's talk a little bit about Columbus. I'm assuming the team is not going to make any roster changes, and how do you guys feel about what you feel you need to tweak before Columbus? I'm going to let you go first, Eric, and I'm going to turn it over to Adam.
Yeah, so far, I'm pretty sure we're all sticking together. We haven't got to talk as a team completely just yet because some people, usually they want to take a break right after Halo, which is completely understandable after a tournament. But we should be getting it together, and I'm pretty sure we all talked about it individually, but as a team yet, we haven't discussed it. But I don't think there's going to be any changes whatsoever. So, and some of the things that we could have just worked on is just basically some of our small talk was the only thing that there's some miscommunications. I can remember one game in particular against, I believe, Warriors. It was the fourth game, the flag zealot game. There was a flag that we could have guaranteed cap and won the game for sure from that point on. But there was just some miscommunication about a certain player. But overall, I think we did really well. So just expect big things in Columbus.
Awesome. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, just touch up on little things Eric left out. We're definitely going to stay together. I really want to stay together with this team. Everybody, just the chemistry with us as a group, feels really close. Just even in the hotel rooms, just joking around with one another. Past that, with fixing on some things in gameplay wise, definitely Zealot and Countdown. Certain game types for those two maps, we just needed to definitely tighten up our setups and whatnot during the game, and try to maybe bring out some new stuff for the next event, since some people will probably be picking up on some of our starting strats that we brought out. Probably like one of my Nexus starting strats for TS. Like he said, communication during the game. Sometimes George would have to tell us all to shut up, so we would all stop talking, so then we would realize what we were doing on how we were wanting to break something. If we can just do that just naturally without having somebody tell us all to shut up, and be quiet, and we just do that, 100% focused on ourselves and know what our common goal will be in those points, then we should be able to really take away some of the mistakes we would make, like, for example, during Slayer game types and CTF game types. But other than that, I feel for the most part we're pretty well-rounded on most of the game types out there.
And for those who may not have heard already, I don't know why they wouldn't have, the big winners, status quo. Why don't we bring in Spikemouth? Justin, how are you this evening?
I'm doing pretty well.
And tell us a little bit about what you thought about how the Halo event ended.
I thought it was really good to see, Status Quo finally get their first tournament win. I mean, they'd been trying for many years to get a win. And it was also good to see Impact come out strong, as they have been over the past few Combine events and at the exhibition. A couple of complaints that I had, though, was throughout main stage, when they would host the commentary for the people in the audience to hear, they would do the listen-in sections for the Astros. And you could hear on main stage, like if you were coaching one of the teams on main stage, you could hear whatever communication was going on with the other team. Mazik and I complained a little bit about that. They did fix that on Sunday. They stopped that for it only to be on the stream rather than be throughout the whole event. So a few complaints there. There wasn't as much hype for the event as well. Like people sitting in the audience, there were hundreds more people sitting in the audience this time around without the bleachers, but there was no hype. It just seemed too lame, I guess you could say. But it was good to see Status Quo win, Impact taking second. From there on, it went Believe the Hype, Warriors, Soul, Instinct, Sparkle Like Us, and Dynasty to round out the top 8. A lot of interesting surprises there. You have Triggers Down, Final Boss, and Darkest Hour finishing outside the top 8 when a lot of people thought they were going to finish at least in the top 4, if not top 8. It was awfully surprising because Impact came into the event and had to play Final Boss first round on main stage, and Final Boss got 3-0'd with ease. Like, it was just depressing. And Pistola ended up finishing the event plus over 200. To see them struggle that badly and to get 10th when Pistola went probably the most positive he's ever been before, it's weird to see happen, honestly.
Well, you call that, that's going to result in roster changes. I mean, that's just what, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing these roster changes. I think with teams placing so poorly, like Triggers Down, Final Boss, Instinct finishing in 6th, I think there's going to be a lot of team changes. I'm not too sure if Darkest Hour will change. I think they'll just work on things because of how friendly they are with each other, and they seem really dedicated to stick together. But it was very interesting to see a lot of these amateur teams work their way up and go into the top 8, like Soul and Sparkle Like Us. They worked all the way from, amateur 1 all the way up into the top 8. That was very impressive, honestly. And to see people finish in the top 16 that you've never really heard of before, like 16th seed Door equals Gym, which is Minority, Milk, Bullets, and Crimsix. That's new. Severance, it's good to see. Invictus worked their way up. You know, you have Give Me My Money still up there. But I mean, a lot of these pro teams aren't up there anymore. You know, Ambush, Power, and Classic lost their seeds. They're no longer pro, and they have to work their way through AM. Not to mention the people that I teamed with who are also amateur players now. So you have a good 16 pros, 17 pros that are now amateur players. So it's going to be very interesting come Columbus to see what happens with that.
All right. Adam, tell us, what was the biggest surprise for you?
The biggest surprise for me was how pool play really affected a lot of teams' seedings and how they reacted to when they would lose a match. On Friday, we saw Status Quo get 3-0'd really easily by Invictus. And then after that, Invictus just didn't really see them bounce back on the rest of their pool play matches. Status Quo came out after their one loss and just took the rest of their matches. It was definitely interesting also seeing how the tiebreakers worked with the pool plays from one team going to be able to start at top 12, dropped all the way down to top 20. I mean, the pool play is really interesting. Seeing some teams not do as well either. Invictus had a lot of hype for the event, and I mean, I think some people are probably disappointed on how they did. And I mean, a lot of people had Darkest Hour being favorites to win the event even, and they just got top 16.
All right, Eric, for you, what was your biggest surprise this tournament outside of losing your wallet?
Yeah, well, besides the wallet, I would have to say agree with Adam. Definitely the pool play was definitely interesting this year. But another big surprise is Final Boss's performance. I mean, you look at Final Boss, and arguably they're the best Halo team in the history of all Halo. They hold every single major championship title, that team does. And like Justin said earlier, Pistola going over 200-something plus and positive. I mean, he was by far had the highest stats of the tournament compared to anybody. I don't even think anybody was even remotely close. And for them to do that poorly with that great of a player on their team, something obviously, I don't know if it was someone else on the team that just was not. I didn't get to really watch them play because we were playing throughout all the time where they were playing, but I was just shocked to see that team do so poorly because watching them at the LAN network, you know, they usually start off slow, but they end strong usually every single time at LAN. So, I mean, it was a real shocker to see that team do that poorly.
Well, you know what I like the most about this pool play system is that teams now have to work for their placing. It's not just you can get lucky one round and then, you know, kind of wing it the rest of the rounds. Now you have to play everyone, and you have to prove yourself to each of those teams and get a high enough record to move your way up the ladder, which I think is well worth it because, like I said, before back in Halo 3, if you win your first round, look, you're pretty much going to be guaranteed top 12 at that point, and then you just keep working your way up from there, just kind of winging it at that point. Now, in order to place well, like Impact, they 3-0'd the first three teams they played, so they were pretty much guaranteed that first spot in their pool, and then they played Seoul, and then they struggled against Seoul. So if they're going to earn their placings, they should do it through pool play, and I think this was a great system to put in place this year.
Yeah, I think we should talk about that also real quick. Adam, what did you think about the pool play?
It worked out pretty well. I like how Justin said teams have to work through playing these three other teams, plus the fourth team that would come out of AM. The only thing I really didn't like was the tie-breaking rules, and I think that they're going to be changing that time Columbus comes around, with some teams like Impact 3-0'd everybody else in their pool, but did have a tiebreaker at the end of it because Final Boss was able to beat Seoul 3-1, but Seoul 3-2 Impact. So then it just went by, how many games you won, or not how many games you won, but it went by then just series. I think a great idea that they could implement for Columbus would just be making everybody just play 5 games against each team regardless, not going by series, and if it has come down to a tiebreaker, just go by wins and losses, not just by who won a series.
Yeah, I guess adopt much more of kind of like a soccer format like you do for the World Cup and just have them play everyone and you're set. What do you think, Eric?
I pretty much have to agree with Adam on that one. As about everything. I like the fact that you have to pretty much earn your spot and prove, you deserve to be on top. You don't just get a free ride anymore. I definitely did not like last season's Halo 3 setup. Well, ever since they had it, I think it was since like '08 or something. I did not like the way they did it. It made it like almost impossible for AM players to succeed. So this gives a chance for everyone to prove, okay, hey, I deserve to be up here, or you don't, pretty much, whether you're on top or not. I'm excited to see if they're going to make that change or not. Like Adam said, come Columbus. So.
Well, I know we didn't talk about it when we were talking about StarCraft, but I don't necessarily know if that pool play is going to work as well for StarCraft. That might be the other thing that MLG will need to look at. But between both Halo and StarCraft, I thought there were many more improvements and a lot of positives to overcome the negatives. So, I look forward to watching you guys in Columbus. That's going to be exciting. There's going to be even more VV people there. So, we're pretty hyped. So I want to thank Coach Hethlon for returning again, this being his second time on the show. And Adam Icevane has obviously been a regular here, so I look forward to both of you being on the show again. I'm sure we'll talk to you guys again before Columbus, especially after all these team changes and your team progresses and prepares for the big event in Columbus. Thank you both for being on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me, Jerry, and the rest of VVV people. Also, I would like to say a shout-out to everybody from VVV that was there and supporting us at the event, even during the consolation rounds. I know a lot of people, it doesn't really matter for them to watch consolation matches, but you guys were there supporting us, and I can't tell you how grateful we are for all you guys coming out and watching us play. You guys really did amazing for us and keeping us motivated during games.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys, once again. I also want to give a huge shout-out to our teammates first. They couldn't be on the show. Honestly, I thought skill-wise, Pete Hype definitely lived up to the hype. That kid is absolutely insane skill-wise. I mean, obviously he proved it not only through our placing and his stats, but, I mean, he won the FFA, so that kid is just ridiculous. And honestly, I thought Sneaky Beaver did a really amazing job at times as well. And honestly, I have to give the biggest shout-out to all of our teammates. Even though Adam did amazing too, I have to give the biggest shout-out to George Frosty. I mean, he literally turned the game on some games for us to win. Like, if it wasn't for his vocal leading, just basically telling us to shut up, like Adam was saying earlier, in certain times, we would not have won certain series or games. So huge shout out to him. And also, a big shout out to all of VVV Gaming. Awesome support. You guys definitely motivated us to play and perform a lot better. We always play better with a crowd on our side, and we just love it. We love the community here, and I mean, I know I'm fairly new to this, but I mean, from what I've seen, awesome job, guys. Thank you a lot.
Well, Jason, I have to say, and I don't know if you felt this way, we had a lot of meetings. I mean, they thanked us, but I thought we could have. I look forward to being able to watch more matches in Columbus. And to be honest, this is the first time we had meetings and everything. And then for those of you who may not know, this weekend also, Southwest Airlines had that incident in Phoenix where a fuselage was ripped open, and Doomhammer and I and Relent all flew Southwest. So we spent about 3 hours on Saturday on the airlines figuring out what alternatives we had, because both Doomhammer and I worked on Monday, and we certainly didn't want to miss work if we could help it. To make a long story short, we really didn't have that many good options. We looked at train, we looked at automobile. It was $500 and something for the automobile. The train would be very expensive. Both of those will take a long time, obviously. When it came to planes, American Airlines and United seemed to be the only options out of Dallas that weekend that would get us there. But they all had stops and out of places like Salt Lake City or 6-hour flights. And obviously last minute we're going to spend, $400 a person again. So we decided to ride it out, and luckily our plane did take off only 10 minutes late. Of course, there was a wind advisory, which I think earlier in the show when Roar was talking about delays, that really kind of messed up a lot of planes trying to get out of there. But I think we got out in a good window, and we had a connection. We just did a quick stop in Kansas City and then flew into Chicago. But this event, I got less time on the floor to watch teams than I wanted to, and I'm really looking forward to Columbus, where I get to drive in, so I get to show up a little bit earlier, and I get to drive out, which means I get to stay later. So this is going to be, for me at least personally, a much more engaged and fun event. But, Jason, why don't we talk about the game that needs help?
Oh, you must be talking about last, and I actually can say probably the least at this point. Call of Duty Black Ops. Wow, where to even begin with this? First things first, I think the game is really, really boring to watch, and there was barely any turnout. It was extremely disappointing, wouldn't you say?
Well, Major League Gaming, I think, has positioned themselves well. They said to Treyarch and to Sony, look, and more so to Treyarch, I think, and Activision than Sony. You guys didn't get your shit together until 3 weeks before the event. We didn't have a lot of time to make this announcement. Back channel wise, I think a lot of players were encouraged to get on the PlayStation 3 to take a look at this and get ready, and we get 43 teams. So, was there a low turnout? Yes. Do I believe it's going to be better in Columbus? Much better. I think we're going to see a lot more Call of Duty teams in Columbus. I think the pre-registration numbers are already higher than what's there. Not that 43 is a hard number to beat or should be a hard number to beat for a game that sold as many copies as Call of Duty, obviously on the 360, but nevertheless the crossover, we've talked about it on the show before. But we have Relent on the show, and Relent, you are a Call of Duty fan. You tell us from your perspective, what did you think? How was it?
I think it could have been a lot better. There were a lot of more issues, even on the Sony side, where they were having problems, trying to get all the other stations PS3 friendly. We had a lot of problems with the Dr. Pepper booth. There was problems with Astros at certain PS3 stations that really didn't get fixed halfway through. The turnout wasn't that great. The commentators could have used some work. And there's just a lot of room for improvement. I think settings need to be changed to make it better for the spectators and better for the players. We're probably going to need a lot of work.
Well, let's talk about those one at a time. Let's first talk, one thing for anybody who's listening to this show I don't want to go into. I don't want to go into the technical problems that Major League Gaming had. I mean, that's literally kicking a dog when it's down. And as much as I like to sort of, shit on bad kids, I mean, Sundance made every apology he could. He agreed to refund the stream or give someone free stream and for Columbus. And there were technical problems with the PlayStation, as you mentioned, the Dr. Pepper booth. Let's talk a little bit about exactly what the technical problems were, because you also got a chance to share some of that with Sony, didn't you?
Yeah, I got to talk to the Sony rep there. The problem we had at the Dr. Pepper booth, they asked Indius and Motivation to come over there and scrim on them like they had for all the Halo teams. Now, when they have all the Halo teams, they have all their Xboxes set up. They have this big screen so people can watch, and there's a lot of stuff around there. We got over there, half stuff did not work with the Sony stuff. They were having problems with Astros. They didn't have all the cables. It took them around an hour to do it, and even then, they really didn't put out as well as they did. They still had the Xboxes out, which Sony was a little mad about. They didn't have the big screen TV so everyone could watch, so it was only us playing over there. They really didn't hype it up like they did for everything else. It took them, like I said, an hour, which caused us not to play Envious. Envious had to go on their game against Optic Cold. They tried to put us against a team that we were about to play in 20 minutes, which we told them that they couldn't do because we're playing them in 20 minutes. So they just got us a random team, and it was very poorly handled, and hopefully they fixed it. We talked to Sony about it. They weren't really that happy. They said they're going to, at the least, make sure that the technical issues are fixed, make sure they have all the stuff over there. So it's just plug in and switch over real quick as possible, because they really did not like hearing it took them an hour to set up 8 PlayStation 3s when the PlayStation 3s were already there.
Okay. And again, I don't want to spend too much time on this, so let's move on to the more obvious things. Let's go to the commentators, because, I mean, Halo's got it down to a science. Starcraft has it down to a near science minus the boost. Certainly not Day9 or DJ Wheat's issue. When they were on, they were good. And then you have, if you don't know what you're talking about and you just repeat what other people say and you don't provide your own analysis, you are, in my definition, a tool. And what I saw in those two announcers was the whole fucking shed. I'm not going to lie. They either need to go back and watch how Puckett and the crew does Halo, how DJ Wheat and Day9 do StarCraft, and they need to get a major upgrade, or they need to be replaced. Because what they added was absolutely nothing. So That's the announcer's side. I don't know if anybody disagrees with that, but I think that really needed to change. The second thing that comes to my mind is the gameplay. Now, Jason, you said it was boring. Give me a little bit from your perspective what made it boring compared to Halo.
Well, technically speaking, they had the main stage set up and they were only showing one person on the screen at a time. Well, with the current settings that they have, Call of Duty Black Ops seems to really favor players that stick in one place and camp, really. It's really boring to watch a screen where there's someone laying down prone and just waiting for someone to come around a corner. There is nothing exciting. The crowd wasn't getting into it. There weren't people sitting in the seats. If someone was moving, it was them moving between point A and point B, right back to point A so they could sit back because they thought someone might be coming around the corner. And they wanted to wait so that they would be the one to get their shot off first and kill the other person. It's just horribly unfriendly to spectators. And fingers crossed they'll be able to change some settings in the future, make it a little bit easier for people to watch the game, perhaps. Because right now, it's just over-the-top boring.
Yeah, Relent, you and I talked about this. I'd recommend it. I'm a big fan of rapid fire. And you had pointed out that obviously the issue with rapid fire and steady aim. I say yank steady aim out of the game, get rapid fire in there, because this all FAMAS thing is not working for me. What do you think, Roland?
Yeah, definitely. We also had a talk with Terror from Indius. He agreed with us, thought that, all FAMAS gameplay just leads to nothing but let's camp back, let's shoot, no running gun. They thought they could, get rid of rapid fire because of steady aim, so it would make more skillful, but it made it a lot more slow-paced. I believe that, with rapid fire, it'll cause people to push. You can actually win a gunfight. You can actually come around a corner and win with the rapid fire, which will allow people to push and bring the objective play back more into it and make it more exciting.
Justin, what do you think?
Well, I come from Call of Duty 4, and I know a little bit of a background of the whole camping and issue and all that stuff. Well, back in COD 4, they didn't really have a regulation on what weapon you use, so I can't really speak on why they're using the FAMAS or anything like that. But for the camping situation, a lot of the game types in COD 4 that we used to play were mainly search and destroy, and you only really have one life. And the problem with that is it only takes like 2 shots and you're dead. So with that, you have to be really picky on what you do and when you push up. So unfortunately, that causes teams to kind of sit back and wait for the right moment, kind of like back then in Gears, like there was a lot of camping going on and everyone waited till the right moment to go out and push. And that's how it is in Call of Duty, unfortunately. Like you can't use this like Halo, because in Halo, like it's fast paced. You're in your face pretty much. Call of Duty, you have to be more smart about what moves you make at what time, because one wrong move costs you the round. Unfortunately, I can understand why there is a lot of camping. I can see it from a pro's perspective of why they do it. But for a spectator, I could see why they find it completely boring.
Well, I think here in this situation, to be clear, in Call of Duty 4, you had the P90, you had options. Here in this case, and I don't know how it came about. The one thing I like is that I think everyone's in agreement. What I'm seeing on Twitter, what I see around, I don't see too many Call of Duty pros that are entrenched in the way it's being played. And it looks like they're going to be flexible to make changes. I, as a spectator, who want to see Call of Duty succeed, who am eternally grateful for what Sony and Treyarch have done to bring it to this point, and for that they should be rewarded with an exciting competition, I do have to ask the Call of Duty community to take a very serious look and speed up the game. It is better to have a little bit of slop than it is to have what was essentially watching people camp. It just isn't interesting. And, again, much like the stream, I think we don't need to beat up Call of Duty too much. But you could almost scratch the first event. No offense to the teams at place, but, because there wasn't a lot going on. There wasn't anything that, really caught my attention. So, but yeah, Relent, give us a quick rundown of how things ended up and what was a surprise and what was who did well, who didn't do so well.
Well, no surprise here. Quantic Leverage took first place. A big surprise, though, is Resistance, 11 seed, came out of nowhere to get second place. Optic Gaming, people expected them to win, but they had to pick up Nate Shot last second because Rambo got sick. So they got third place. That's good. Ground Zero, another team that came from the Xbox that really had no hype around them. They got fourth. Obey was probably a little bit higher seeded. They end up fifth, but it was an overall good place. Envious came out. They had a good run. They got sixth place. Twisted Method had a few players like Next who are known, but they really didn't have hype around them again. Pulled out a seventh place finish, and Quantic Next Fret finished at the bottom, getting eighth, sadly, because Virus was sick on Sunday and they had to forfeit a few of their matches.
Yeah, I think a lot of people expected Leverage to do well, and to be honest, I don't even know that Quantic Gaming. To me, they're like UOR. You sponsor 4 or 5 teams, and I'm not quite sure what the model there is outside of burning cash. But I thought that Leverage did well. I thought that Optic Gaming, obviously, I thought Optic definitely arrived ready to play, and they had a lot of passion behind them. They actually were probably one of the more interesting teams to watch. I think the other thing worth mentioning is, something that I've said a lot. To me, just because you were good at Call of Duty 4, this is a new game. Team Fear is a prime example. They didn't even make top 12. And, I had gotten pretty tired of hearing Team Fear's name. They kind of landed where I thought they would. But you're right, resistance is there, but I think there's going to be a lot of team changes. I wonder how it's going to all end up in the day. I really don't know where Call of Duty is going to be come June, so we'll see.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, there's already a whole bunch of team changes happen. There was a lot of situations that happened at the event that led to immediate team changes. People just leaving, having bad attitudes. What Call of Duty really needs is they need someone to step up and be that image. We got people like Castro. I met Terror, who could really be a great image for Call of Duty and MLG all together. He could be that T-squared for Call of Duty.
Well, you're saying you're talking about Terrorist, right?
Terrorist, yeah.
Yeah.
He goes by Terror.
Just saying for people who may know him as Terrorist. Yes, he's very marketable. Hastra obviously does a great job. I think, Hastra also, based on his Twitter, is very engaged and was, gets that things need to improve and is positive. I think they made a good impression. As far as, Leverage, I don't know if that's quite the team that I would say is as marketable as some of the other players. For those who don't know VV Motivation, top 16, to be honest, in my opinion, Juggernometry just didn't show up. And then he left early. So, that's the kind of player where if you're listening to this podcast show, you pick up Juggernometry, you're taking a chance. That's not the kind, someone we would never sponsor again. I can just say that for sure. I don't like players like that. If you're there with your teammate, when it comes to the consolation round, as Active Rush proved to us, you can do great things there. And I felt he just bailed on his team. To be honest, I hope he just quits, that he doesn't come around again, because Call of Duty is in a very
fragile state.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, it is, because, he didn't have a lot of turnout, and the game is boring to watch, and it has to, and I keep trying to tell people, it has to compete with Halo Reach and Starcraft II for attention, right? In order to do that, you have to be really, really good. Maybe if you put it in another venue where there isn't anything else going on, maybe it would do better. But side by side, next to 2 major titles like Reach and Starcraft II, this is where you are in the big leagues. And your players and your community and the way the game is played has to be spectator friendly. You have to engage the audience. The one good thing about Halo are there are enough teams that, I don't know how many teams you are sponsors, like 4 or 5, but, in Call of Duty, you have one organization have like 10% of the teams that were there. That's just silly, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not worth watching. There's no excitement there. I am hoping that Optic and Envious and hopefully a couple other teams emerge that are going to be really strong, that can really bring some excitement into this, And I agree with you, Orlando. It's good to see some of those teams that people didn't expect to do well pop up, But we definitely want to see more surprises in Columbus. Not that there's anything wrong with what we have. We just want to get more action because, in a way, you're almost hitting the restart button because you had so few teams and such little attention around it.
Yeah, we need more from the Call of Duty community. The game is the top selling game of all time here in the United States. Second highest revenue grossing game of all time, only behind Guitar Hero 3. I mean, the game is so popular, for the community to not show up, we need more from everybody, not just from the rules, from spectator friendliness. That needs to change too, but we need more from the community too. If people don't show up, starting at Columbus, I'm going to be starting to get worried. I mean, as Sundance said on the show on episode 60, this event, the community kind of gets a free pass, but we really need people to come out and support the game hand over fist over the next couple events.
Well, yeah, like what Jason said, I mean, this could be the highest grossing game out there, but the thing is, how much of that came from Xbox? I mean, no offense to Sony, but no one wants to play COD on PS3. The only reason why these teams showed up that played PS3 is because they were kind of forced to, if they wanted to win a tournament and remain pro. Everyone plays Xbox for Call of Duty. I've seen a lot of teams even practice for events, for Dallas on Xbox, and then just switch over at the event. No offense to Sony or all, but it's just not as big as it would be for Xbox.
I will say this about Sony. They went out there and they did everything they could to make Call of Duty Black Ops the best they did. They came out there, they supported money for the prizes. They helped, they gave us the systems and everything we needed. They really want to support us. They with the Treyarch made this game so it could be playable on land, so we could have it the way that we needed it. They're always in contact with Treyarch, so hopefully they can get some changes in there, like spawns and something. But Sony really has put a lot of work into making this work, and they're going to continue to do it, and I applaud Sony on that.
Yeah, but that is because Sony as a whole isn't doing well when it comes to sales. They need to do something to boost their sales up, and this is how they're trying to do it. Like I said, Microsoft doesn't need to step in there because look at their sales. Their sales are ridiculous every month.
Yeah, but see, I don't see it. I mean, Sony's in the business of selling, so no shit. I mean, to me, that doesn't matter. Everyone tries to sell. Why would you do an MLG event if you're not going to get benefit from it? I mean, this is business, not charity. So, to be honest, I think it goes back to something Jason said. And that is part of being in this position, part of being amongst the big boys, is you have to make big boy decisions. Which means if you want to be a top player in a title up there with Starcraft and Halo, you need to get a fucking PlayStation 3. Sorry to break the news to you. Sorry the world isn't fair. But that's just how it is. Go get a PlayStation 3. If you're in the Call of Duty community and you want to see your game up in the limelight, you've got to support it. There's just no other way around it. And the sad story may be that the Call of Duty community, at the end of the day, didn't take the opportunity that was handed to them. Right? I'm not worried about the optics or the envious. I know they're going to take that opportunity. But I'm worried about the rest. I mean, if it wasn't for this Quantic dude spending all this money on this teams, how many of those players wouldn't have showed up? It's just like you've got somebody who's wants to throw money at something around, but that's still not a business. And I feel bad for the Hastros and the Optics, who really are passionate and obviously very talented at the game. But it's going to take a lot of Call of Duty players to do something that it would be new to them, and that's to reach out and encourage people to attend, to engage their community and really get people to cross over. If you do not do this, this opportunity will be wasted. All Major League Gaming can do, and all the sponsors can do, is subsidize your activity. They can provide the prize money, the hardware, the venue, and they can do all of that for you. But again, those people playing the game have to make the decision. At the end of the day, they have to do it. And if they don't, well, it's going to go bye-bye. I can't stress enough how important it is for the Call of Duty community to hit a home run in Columbus. They really need to.
To give you a little bit of an idea for all of our listeners, what the VV Gaming staffing was doing behind the scenes, we had a couple of good meetings while we were out in Dallas. We had a staff dinner at the wonderful Sol Irlandez restaurant out there in Dallas. Great. We also did have a VV Gaming meet and greet the next night on Saturday night at the Iron Cactus. Beautiful venue. Really happy that we had the chance to get to experience their food and environment. It was really nice. Have to give a big shout out to Miss VVV Diehard, Kira. She did a wonderful job putting together these two events for us. She is our events manager. She actually took the time out tonight to come by and say hi here on the show. So Kira, welcome to the Losers Bracket.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Kira, I have to say again, thank you so much for all the hard work you put in for this event in Dallas. I'd say that both events went off without a hitch. They were really great. Thank you so much.
Oh, it was my pleasure. This is one of the things that I absolutely love doing, getting people together, really getting out. VVV has always shown me a great sense of community, and this was simply one chance for me to return that to everyone else.
Definitely, Kira. Relent, Roar, you guys were out there with us. What did you guys think?
I thought it was a great opportunity. Like, the staff meeting was awesome. Food tasted great. We had a great talk about everything, including social media and all that stuff. But on Saturday night, it was just nice to meet everybody. I got to sit down and talk to every single person that I could think of. Selco was there, Active Rush was there, met all the StarCraft people. Rigid was awesome, Time, Murder, all great guys. Perilous, just everybody I could meet. Great food there too. The waiters were great. It was just a fun time, and lots of laughs were to be had, and lots of Jerry stories were to be told.
Yeah, I'm known to spin a tale or two.
Yeah, meet and greet was great. I arrived late. Everyone waited. It was really awesome. Waited for me to order food. I enjoyed that, even though I did get the fish taco, so you guys could have ordered for me. All I can say is social media is everything. I had a fun time playing the dollar game, knowing that Doomhammer is the most unsocial person in VEV, while Relent is probably the most social. It's great stuff. Had a fun time talking to Jerry, per usual. Always great insight. Always fun time talking to him.
And it also led to some great pictures for our picture contest. Roar with his mustache and his axe murder face on.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point, actually. Not that picture in particularly, but we do have a ton of pictures that have come from the event, tons and tons of media that was captured at MLG Dallas. If you get the chance, all those pictures are up in our forums. Go check them out. If you weren't able to join us in Dallas, you'll at least get to see a little bit of what happened, the new revision of the MLG experience this coming year, and a little bit of what might be in store for you if you happen to come to one of the stops this year in the future.
If I can hop in, Jason, I have to say this was an absolutely fantastic event from my outlook. The last time I went to an MLG event was my first one as a spectator in DC last year. And the opportunities presented in front of me, both to do the meet and greet and get our entire VV Gaming family out to relax a little bit, but also to be able to see the MLG experience from the side of being a staff member and really understanding what our players and what their support staff goes through getting through an event was absolutely incredible. Relent, Paradise, Roar, you guys have all touched on it a little bit. Jerry, you were fantastic in terms of opening my eyes, and I think everyone else's, to some really big ideas in terms of what is forthcoming for competitive gaming as a whole in esports and Major League Gaming this year. So thank you for that. I really appreciated it.
Well, I mean, I think, my job is to make sure you guys as staff get a professional development as well. And we are in a time where social media is so important that just in the last 3 weeks, let's do a quick timeline, we had Sundance on the show who spoke a lot about social media. I went to the Chief Learning Officer Symposium in Florida, hosted by Chief Learning Officer Magazine. And for those of you who don't know what a Chief Learning Officer is, it is the executive at major corporations who are in charge of learning and development for the employees. So you might have a Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operating Officer, Chief Financial Officer, and every Chief Learning Officer. If you notice, they all start with C. In the business world, we call that the C-suite. Those are your executives. Those are the top of the food chain. And so I had the pleasure of being with a lot of that level of people, and the big topic of conversation was social media. A lot of companies, were debating it, what to do with it, how to use it. What happens if one of your employees is on Twitter or Facebook and says something bad about a client? But the good far outweighed the bad. In the future, people are talking how they're going to be using Twitter and Facebook and social media to motivate learning, to share information, and how critical it is. So based on all that, I felt, we've always had a great presence on Twitter and Facebook. But Monday evening, I had staff go through and do an audit of everyone's Facebook and Twitter page. Simply because, for us, it is time for us to take the organization to the next level. Really crank up our social media use. We have yet to turn that faucet on. And to be honest, titles like Call of Duty can use it. I'd like to see Gears definitely get a lot of our feedback out there in the world. For those of you that don't know, VV Gaming is going to be advocating very strongly for Gears of War 3. And we're going to need to get Cliffy B's attention as well as make sure that we've got the right noise on Twitter. And I want to get it from the players. We are and always have been probably the definitive community for Gears of War. And we're definitely going to continue that for Gears of War 3. And in order for us to have that impact, we're definitely going to want to make sure that we have our community's voices heard on Twitter as well as Facebook. That was, one part of what we talked about as staff. The other things that we talked about dealt a lot with what competitive gaming does for brands, why brands partner with competitive gaming, what they look for, how they track success, and Major League Gaming's role in all of that. Because basically, for better or worse, right now, because of investments and sponsors, they're subsidizing this activity, the activity being playing video games, but that's not profitable. It's what's going to happen around that where the profit is going to come in. Also, to tell everyone here a little story, when I had coming back from the plane, I tweeted something out on Twitter in which I said I would be covering the good, the bad, and the ugly of this event. And lo and behold, whether it's by coincidence or not, I noticed that immediately Arctic from ZYN had an article up that was the good, the bad, and the ugly. And for those who know that, there's been back and forth along Twitter between myself and Arctic, as I didn't agree with whatever his concocted Gears of War Alliance thing was, MLG Gears Player Alliance or whatever he called it. And to be honest, I have little time or patience for that. And, we need to drown out the crap, so to speak, and, we're gonna ratchet our community into high gear. And I think all of you were very receptive. I mean, the Starcraft community after this event, seeing a lot of activity. So we're going to turn it on, because we are this powerful organization. We're also got a couple big surprises this year that have nothing to do with one particular title, but I think are going to surprise a lot of people. One is going to deal with real life, looking at how video games help people learn. You'll be hearing more about that. And the other thing is something that, I'm going to be proud to announce here. It's an idea that we're going to be working with partners on, but we're actually going to be looking for people to help us. We would like to have VV Gaming sponsor an esports award. We're thinking for North American players only, something to, really help us out. And we're going to be reaching out to EG and all the top organizations and kind of bounce some ideas around for an esports award, something that we can use as a space for organizations that have supported players, top players, and the community to come together kind of in a neutral place, and have our time to shake hands, acknowledge who's contributed a lot, and do all of that. Obviously, something we'll do at the end of the year. We're going to need to start to lay the groundwork for that here, and something specific in North America. So we'll be asking a lot of people's feedback on that. So those are some of the things in the works. Other stuff isn't that far developed yet. We're going to probably increase our staff. Many of you have noticed probably that, we are going to probably pick up a new application manager, but we're also going to be looking for a couple other writers and other staff members. We're going to be promoting Relent to actually be our console manager. So Relent's going to be in charge of Halo and Call of Duty, as well as any console game that comes along. On the PC side, we're really satisfied with where we're at right now. We may look at a couple other things, and we may actually down the road increase Relent's responsibilities to include just being a PC manager as well, because as much as possible, we're going to go to the model of investing a lot in a select group of people and really develop them professionally. So a lot of cool stuff being planned. Luckily, we've reached the level now that our next big challenge as VV Gaming is going to be our staff, getting the right people to do a lot of the cool ideas that we have out there. And to be honest, our staff works very hard. They do an amazing job with everything they do. I mean, for those of you that don't know, I mean, just think of what, Paradise has to do every week, not just being on this show and preparing for the show, but also behind the scenes editing every podcast. This will be his 61st podcast that he has edited, got on Podbean, promoted. All those things obviously are very time consuming. So, we always are looking for people who are interested in really taking competitive gaming to the next level with us. And it's a pleasure to have professional, fresh faces. Die Hard obviously is here. Kara was a huge help in organizing a lot of the social activity, as well as keeping everyone organized. So we dubbed her Madam Secretary for doing an outstanding job of having the schedules, and pretty much was a walking resource for any information we needed. These are the kind of people that make up VV Gaming staff, and I'm just very proud of them. But I also want to open that up to others out there who, and you know who you are. You've messaged me on Twitter. You've given me an email here, an email there. You've emailed Doomhammer because you didn't want to bother me. You've talked to maybe Paradise or Relent. We do need people who are ready to do some very professional level work, stuff that's resume building. Think of it more like an internship than a, volunteer position where, this is going to directly translate into letters of recommendation, whether that's for graduate school or for the workplace, things like that. So a lot of cool stuff going on. So if you're listening to this show, you are interested, or you know someone who is interested, you can contact me directly, because I'll be taking a look at that. And, that's what we have going on. So that's a quick cap of some of the highlights of what we talked about.
And let me just say I'm very happy, and that means more hugs for more people and more different games to go around.
Hugs, not drugs. That's always been the saying. And, if there's one good person to give a good hug here in VVV, I'd say Relent should be the person to do it. I like it. Congrats, Relent, on the new position. And thanks to everybody that came out to Dallas and joined up with us. We had an absolutely wonderful time there. And I think I can speak for the entire community when I say we are all really looking forward to Columbus starting on June 3rd. But I have to say, it is time to wrap this show up. This is the end of the 61st round of VVV Gaming's The Losers Bracket, and I need to give a big shout out to, as always, all the VVV Gaming sponsors: SteelSeries, Control Freak, MusicSkins.com, GamerLogos.net, and Custom Ink. Another big shout out to the band Power Glove. They are the people that provide our wonderful intro and outro theme music. Thanks so much to them. Huge shout out to the VVV Gaming community. Your feedback and support. Lots of support in Dallas. That's what keeps us going. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Be sure to stop by our podcast homepage. The website is vvvgaming.podbean.com. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes. Just search for VVV Gaming. We'll come right up. You'll see our two shows, Directional Influence and The Losers Bracket. You can throw us any suggestions you might have via email at thelosersbracket@vvv-gaming.com. You can also follow us on Twitter. There we are simply known as Losers Bracket. We look forward to hearing all of your constructive criticism about the show. Tell us any ideas that you might have for MLG. We'll pass them along. And we look forward to seeing you back here next week for the 62nd round of our show.
Good night, everyone. Thank you. Huge shout out to everyone who came out and supported us, both at Dallas and from the VVV Gaming website. We'll see you guys in Columbus.
Big shout out to my $6 brother and Titan. Good luck, man. You're going to need it.
Big shout out to everybody at VVV. Goodbye.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, guys. Big shout out to VV Gaming community. Like I said, I'm new to it and I love it. Everything so far. Just keep up the good work, guys.
I want to give a big shout out to Caitlin, Katie, Melissa, Cammie, all of Vector Brush, everyone from VVV. I had a great time at Dallas, and I can't wait to see you all at Columbus.
I want to give a shout out to SC2, VVV, see everybody at C-Bus, big parties, big scores, big games. Let's get it sexy.
All right, my shout-outs go to the VVV players. This was your event. You showed up. You played. You have inspired me to continue to do what I do, and it really has motivated me to drive the organization to the next position. So thank you very much.
All right, everybody. We'll see you back here next week. Take care.